why do you get so easily triggered? Or what, or not even so easily triggered, because maybe you're not easily triggered, but the idea of like, when you're triggered, what do you do in that moment? Do you stop and before you react? And part of that is like training yourself, conditioning yourself, because it's not something that you can do overnight, but you could do with the little things that trigger you, so that by the time those bigger triggers come, you're more better equipped to handle that. And
Right.
so it's just like, for me, when something's bothering me and I'm like, why do I feel funny? Why do I feel triggered? I have to sit with myself and ask myself, why this? Why that? And so, and usually it comes to, in my opinion, about when you feel you're triggered and you're asking yourself those questions, it's then, did you have boundaries in place so that wouldn't occur for you?
Right. Right.
And if you did you communicate those boundaries? Because people have boundaries, but then the person that they're engaging with doesn't know that.
Yes,
So you
absolutely.
can't put that responsibility on them. You know, going back to that Love Island season. While, yes, she reacted a certain way, y'all also created an environment that allowed her, that she felt it was okay to react this way. Now, granted, there's editing. Maybe, some people have said, like, oh, yeah, no, well, we did call her out. We did say this. They didn't show it. It's 1 hour out of a 24-hour day, which was unfortunate, because, and it's not me bashing this one particular individual. I hope she gets better. I think she needs help. I mean, yeah, she does.
Right. Right.
And so, but it's just this idea of like, okay, did you communicate those boundaries?
Yeah, and I think
Sometimes
that's
you
the
can't make those
key.
assumptions, right? You
Right.
can't make that assumption.
You can't. And it goes, like you said, it goes back to setting those boundaries. And I think about, with my own personal experience and how I would get triggered, especially when I would be in relationships with men, how I may get triggered and I lash out. Then there's this big blow up. But if I had set boundaries from the very beginning, if I didn't let things slide, if I didn't coddle other people's feelings, we wouldn't get to this place where it's like, are you for real right now? Like, what are we doing right here?
Because you're looking around like they're crazy or like you're crazy, but it's just like, no, they probably didn't really understand or know, even though it seems so logical to you.
Right, right. And again, it's about communicating those boundaries. And it reminds me, I feel like, I gotta pat myself in the back because, when my children do good, I gotta say thank you to me.
Okay, okay.
But it reminds me of a situation my daughter had with a young girl that she used to be friends with. And I liked her. I thought she was really cool. And all of a sudden, I don't know how it came up, but she said, "Oh yeah, we're no longer friends." And I said, "Oh, well, what happened?" She said, "Nothing. She just seems very, clingy and needy, and I just don't have the capacity for that." And I told her we can't be friends. And I said,
Okay, niece. I love it.
I
Yes.
said, my mind was like, why you being, well, that's kind of mean, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
initially, but
Sure.
I asked her a question. I said, so
Yeah.
what do you mean by that? Like, what happened? And she said, well, it's, she said that she has her own set of friends and the other girl has her set of friends. But if, my daughter wants to hang out with her other friends, the other girl felt like she should have been inviting her. She should have been involved. And my daughter was like, girl, I
Right.
mean,
You
why do
have your
I
own
need to,
friends too.
right? Like, why do I need to pull you into my mix? Like, it's not that serious. And it was like a constant, like, she was constantly, I don't want to say harass her, but always bringing it up. And it was just bothering my daughter, like she felt like, come on, girl, this is not that serious. So she recognized that and said, you know what? I really don't have the capacity for that. And she said, like, we just can't be friends. And the girl said, well, we know, similar people. How can we not be friends? And she said, easy. We don't have to be friends. And she's just like, my daughter, her mind was just blown. Like, girl, it doesn't matter. I'm not saying that we got to be mean to each other or
Right. Right.
we just don't have to be friends.
Yes.
We don't have to call each other. We don't have to, forcibly hang out with each other. If we
Right.
happen to be in the same circle, in the same setting, okay. Like there's no big deal. And then I understood where she was coming from. And I said, okay, good for you. But that initial thought, and again, that's like my own issue of, oh, you can't be You got to try to be kind to people. But she was being kind.
Right, right. Because
She
it
was being
does,
kind.
yes. And it's just in the delivery. So while she didn't say it mean,
No,
she didn't say it in a mean way. It seems harsh, but at the same time, she needs to put herself first. And
exactly.
I love that right now for my niece because when I when I think about one of the friendships that no longer exists for me. I remember during the time where we were in a rocky road, it was towards the end of our relationship. We had a lunch with a mutual friend, and afterwards I just felt weird. I felt anxious, and I was just like, why am I feeling anxious after this lunch? And
Hmm.
I had to sit with myself, and I was like, well, I feel anxious because I don't like being around her anymore.
Right.
Well, why don't you
Right.
like being around her? Well, I feel like I have to walk around eggshells when I speak to her. Why do you feel
Right.
like you have to walk on eggshells when you speak to her? Well, because she's very sensitive. And
Hmm.
I know, and typically this isn't a problem for me with anyone else, but when you've known someone for decades, you've protected that person. I protected that person, and I
Right.
shouldn't have. I should have just been okay with saying with what I'm going to say and deal with the consequences. But
Right.
because, and I was like, so I feel this way. And I'm like, I already knew that this friendship isn't going to be the same as it was before. And actually, I just preferred not for it not to exist at all. Because I
Hmm.
just don't think
Hmm.
we're ever going to see eye to eye. We're not going to be on the same page. And we outgrew each other. But
Right.
that good for Madeline for understanding and seeing that, like, okay,
Yeah, no. And it just goes back to me always telling both my kids that communication is important. You got to communicate how you feel.
yes,
People can't read your mind. You can't expect them to understand and know. And again, this is me telling them this is from my own experience and my mistakes that I've done
mhm.
in many different relationships, not just romantic relationships, but just relationships with friends and so on and so
We
forth.
didn't grow up that way. This is
No.
why my friendship of decades, I supported her in the way of like, okay, yeah, let me know. I know she's gonna be sensitive if I say it this way. Let me
Right,
just
right. Let
like,
me work
no,
around. And I was so proud of her when she nipped it in the bud. She tried, she liked her. It wasn't that she did disliked her, but
yeah,
after knowing her and realizing that she required a lot more of my daughter's time, that she knew that she just didn't have it in her to continue this type of
yeah,
friendship. And she said, "Hey, we just don't need to be friends."
right,
And the poor girl, she didn't really understand, like she couldn't get it. But I think that experience will help her in the long run. I'm talking about the other young girl,
yes,
because then she'll understand that people have boundaries. You wanting their attention all the time is not going to be priority. And if that's what you need from a friendship, then you need to find people who's going to give that to you and
right,
not be upset at those who can't give it to you. Just be able to let it go, because she was trying to still hold on to that
sure,
friendship, right? Like, how can we? Because we have all these other things going on. So how is it possible that we can't, we shouldn't be friends? And my daughter is very clear, girl, we don't have to be friends just because we're around the same people or around the same
right.
circle. It's part of life. Yes, we're gonna cross paths, and that's just it.
Yeah, and I think too what, not to just focus on the boundary aspect, but when it comes to your emotions and the fact that you can be triggered and understanding those what does trigger you, because this is the easiest way to get manipulated. And this is
Hmm.
how we as a society collectively, but I'm going to exclude myself from that collective because I refuse to be manipulated. But this is how society gets manipulated. Think about when you watch the news, when you hear politicians, what do they go after? They go after your heartstrings. And how do they
Yes.
do that? They do that by bringing up how this policy is going to impact your family. And what is family to you? Everything for most
Right.
people.
Right.
So they know how to go for the jugular, which is going to be your livelihood in a manner of your family, people that you love, your community, and then convince you that if you don't vote this way or if you don't support this particular policy, well then you're going to be killing your family kind of thing. And I'm just throwing out extremes, but they always go after whatever you're going to react to strongly. And so when you start to recognize that, okay, this is a stage, that's smoke, those are mirrors, okay, this is fake news. Yeah, fake news all around. Then you see the manipulation for what it is. And so when you recognize, okay, this is two sides of the same coin. Okay, this is